Anchor Church, we hope you had a Merry Christmas. And hey, Happy New Year! We're so glad you're here with us. Last weekend, we got to participate in our Drop Anchor offering, and it was amazing. But you know what? You still have an opportunity to participate if you missed it last weekend. And if you're just bringing your normal tithes and offerings, you can do both of these the same way. You can go to our website, myanchorchurch.org, go to the Give tab, but make sure when you get there, you select either Drop Anchor or Tithe for your way that you're giving. Also, you could just text Anchor FL to 77977. We're so glad you're here, and we cannot wait to see you in person January 4th.
Come on, let's worship. Come on, when darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, oh, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. Come on, my fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Yeah, yeah. Come on, sing shame. Shame no longer has a place to hide. and mountains are still being moved. Strongholds are still being loosed. 'Cause God, we believe, and yes, we can see that wonders are still what you do. And bodies are still being raised, and giants are still being slain. Yes, God, we believe that yes, we can see that wonders are still what you do. Come on, let's sing. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. We need a move.
And bodies are still being raised. Giants are still being slain. Oh, 'cause God, we believe it. Yes, we can see that wonders are still what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. 'Cause we need a move. Right here, Jesus. We need
Miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Come on. Heaven is coming. Oh, sing miracles.
miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming. 'Cause this is a move. This is a move. That's
Come on, sing we are here. Come on. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. We need a move. So this is a move.
And this is a move. This is a
Anybody need a move of God today? I had to sit down and open my Bible because God put a word on my heart for somebody today. You know, in the Old Testament, God shoulder taps this guy named Abraham. Abraham's 75 years old. God tells Abraham, look up in the sky, you see those stars? You're gonna have descendants more numerous than the stars in the sky. And Abraham said, well, that's pretty hard to fathom because I'm 75 and I don't have kids right now. And I don't know if you know, God, that I'm 75, but my wife is very old as well. And God goes, hey, just trust me. Trust me. 25 years later, Abraham still has no kids. But he trusted more in what God said than in what he saw. And then he has a son. And we see that the nation of Israel came from Abraham's son Isaac. It's amazing. God promised him something he didn't see for 25 years. And I just had to look at my Bible because in the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, Hebrews chapter 11, the writer says this, that by faith, Abraham, even though he had nothing to hope in, he still hoped. Even though all hope was lost, he still hoped. What does that mean? The Bible goes on to say this, and his wife Sarah, the Bible says, even though her womb was completely sewn shut at 99 years old, she still hoped. When all hope was lost, when there was nothing left to hope in, they still hoped. But God, I'm 100 years old. But God, my wife's womb is like closed shut, like we are old. And God goes, trust more in what I said than in what you see. And maybe you're here right now and you're in a situation financially, emotionally, relationally. Maybe you're in a situation physically where you're just going, the doctor's report said this. I don't care what he said. Trust in what God said. Maybe you're in a situation right now where you just feel like everything right now, it just doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't look like it makes sense, but trust God because he can make sense out of anything. So I don't know what you're going through right now, but I do know that miracles happen when he moves. And you might think there's nothing to hope in right now. When you got God, you got everything to hope in. Come on, lift your hands up. Let's begin to sing. Miracles happen when he moves. Come on.
Miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming.
Oh, some miracles.
Miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming. This is a move. This is a move.
This is a move.
This is a move. This is a move.
We are here, we are here, we are here for you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we are here for you. Come and do what you do. You set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. Yeah. 'Cause we need a move. This is a move of God. This is a move. Oh, this is a
This is a move. Thank you that today, Jesus, you are moving. We don't have to wonder if you're here. We don't have to guess. Thank you that we know for a fact today that you are here. Thank you that you're moving in us and through us. There's no place on planet Earth I'd rather be right now than right here. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.
There is no better worship than Anchor Church worship. I guarantee it. Hey, we hope you had a great Christmas, but we have a few announcements for you. The first announcement is Soul Sisters. Come on, ladies. Are you ready for Soul Sisters? It is the home edition. And if you want to be a part of that, you're going to email Pastor Teresa at this email address right here. Next on the list, we have Anchor Youth. Anchor Youth will be meeting January 13th every Wednesday in person. We've been waiting for this for so long, so we're just so excited that it is finally happening. We got Anchor Youth, Anchor Kids, Anchor Young Adults, Crews, a lot of things happening in the life of our church in January, and you want to be a part of it. You want to subscribe, follow us, whatever you need to do on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, turn on the post notifications so you know what's going down at Anchor Church. Hey, Pastor Shaun is going to bring us a great word today, but it's going to be a little bit different. While you lay back and lounge in your home, Pastor Shaun is going to give us a little MTV Cribs tour of his home. No, I'm just kidding, but the message is going to be amazing. You're going to hear about, it's often that we get to hear about God's story, but we're going to hear about the stories of people in our own church and seeing what God has done in their lives. So if you're excited about that, get ready to tune in and enjoy.
You know, we're bringing 2020 to a close, and there's so many people that are so excited for 2020 to be over. 2020 feels like the year that never ended. It wasn't just a year, it seems like it was 10 years. Of all the things that happened, crazy election, pandemic, I mean, it's just been like we had like the worst hurricane season of our lives. We went all the way through the alphabet, the Greek alphabet, the French alphabet. Like we went through every single like letter of everything hurricane-wise. It's just been a crazy year. But I look back to January of 2020, and I shared a vision for our church. That at the beginning of 2020, I felt like the Lord put on my heart that this would be a year that we would lift up. And what's really interesting is even though we had kind of a weird year, it was probably one of the best years ever for Anchor Church. Like we grew, we went to an online presence that grew in the middle of a pandemic. We went to 5 different locations. If you count our online presence, you know, our resources grew, our people grew, baptisms, salvations every weekend. I mean, it's incredible just to see that as a church, we lifted up. But, you know, the church is made up of people. And what's so awesome is so many people in our church lift up this year. They lifted up in certain areas of their lives. And, you know, the idea of lift up came from the Old Testament, Psalm 121. And it says this, I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And that was that whole theme verse for this year, is that no matter what we have going on in our lives, we don't look to money, we don't look to people, we don't look to a resource, we don't look to a job, we look to the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, to solve all of our problems. What a great theme for us to have this year, because in the midst of everything we had going on, the one person we needed to look to was Jesus, because when everything else fails, he doesn't.
Right.
And, you know, Teresa and I were thinking about this weekend in particular as we brought 2020 to a close, and we thought about different people in our church that did lift up in certain areas of our lives, and all of you had basically come to our mind.
That's right. And, okay, so Anchor Church, we're family. There's just no other way to put that. We are all family. And so we wanted to bring some of our family together to discuss that. How did we lift up this year personally, maybe collectively, but just how did that play out in our lives? So I think we're going to start with JR. JR, what you first came to us when we were at our first location. Yeah. You had just graduated from college. Yeah. You were looking for a way to get connected. And I remember you were really diligent in that. And so you're this big, burly, strapping guy. So we said, go do set up and tear down, because that's just where we put all the big guys.
When anybody shows up that's strong and buff, we're like, right. Set up, tear down.
Set up, tear down. And you did that with a smile on your face, coming in early. But there was so much more inside of you. And you were really seeking a deeper connection, a deeper just community. Just like the early church, they all met together, you know? So tell us what that journey looked like for you.
Well, I mean, so I did. I came out from college, didn't really have any friends because all my friends were in Chicago. That's where I went to school. And I just was looking for community, and I thought, oh, great place. Let's go to the church. And so first thing I did was I kind of joined the serve team, because that's what I always did at any church when I wanted to get more involved, get more friends, get more people that I know, is you join, you serve, you're there more, so you can meet people more.
Say that again, JR, for all the people watching. The best way to get involved is to, what was that, JR?
To serve. It's true though, because you're there more, you get to know everybody, you become friends, you talk about life, you live life together. And I mean, it was working, and I was in there, and really the only person I could turn to was God because I didn't have anybody else. So I decided, hey, might as well go and get closer with God. And then that kind of pushed what I wanted to happen because being involved, being a part of it, and searching for something that I'm passionate about helped me to make more friends, make more community, get better relationships with people.
What I love about your story, though, is you did not wait for community to come to you. You literally pursued it from day one. Actually, you pursued it by setting up a conversation with Pastor Shaun. You guys met or something? You met somewhere?
Yeah. We went to First Watch, actually, got some breakfast. I love First Watch. We went there, got some breakfast, talked about basically where my passions were, how I wanted to get involved and serve. And that's, we're a small church. We were even smaller back then, so it was easier to set up the meeting. But we just kind of met. We talked about what I'm passionate about, what life was like for me, what I wanted to get out of the year by getting more friends, getting involved, getting all that. And we kind of set up like the live streaming section because that's what I'm a techie guy. That's what I went to school for. I went to school for computer science and I wanted to do something with technology. And we needed a live stream set up, and I was like, I streamed video games before, let's try it out.
Like all the things you don't know about people, like I go to lunch with JR and I'm thinking he's gonna talk about how like I have this great need because I'm an athlete or whatever. He's like, I have my own cooking show and I like to what?
Yeah. So, and I had those passions and God kind of brought them to the surface this year because it was something where in my work, I don't get to do things like that. I don't get to be creative. I don't get to mess around with cameras and do video and do live streams and all that cool stuff. So it's something that I got to do through the church and got to bless God with it. Or God blessed me. One of those two.
All the above.
All the above.
Blessings out of everywhere.
Exactly. It was a blessing, and it's able to serve God and further the kingdom, that kind of stuff. It's awesome.
But I like what you said, babe. I love that like this year you wanted to lift up your community, but you didn't wait for a community, like you said, to come to you. You went after the community. Because I think so many people say, I just wish I had community and they need to come find me. But the reason why you have community and you're leading our online campus right now and doing all these things in our church and making our church a better place is because you sought out the community.
Yeah.
And I want to say, JR, we're better because of you. We're better because you took the step to be in community. So thank you for lifting up community, It's pretty incredible. As you were talking about community and serving, I was thinking about Ariel and Carla. Like you two are, this year, I think you lifted up the commitment to serve in such a huge way. I mean, you both have so much going on in your lives. You live in Miami, so if anybody says that Anchor is too far to drive, a church alive is worth the drive. And so you guys come from Miami every weekend, and you're playing college baseball, trying to go pro. You're a sports psychologist for a professional baseball team. I mean, you have a lot of stuff going on, and but yet you guys both this year committed to serve. You lifted up the commitment to serve. So, Eric, let me ask, just tell me a little bit about like, have you served in churches before? Have you been committed to serve before? And tell me all the things that you did this year and kind of what sparked in you that drive to lift up this commitment to serve.
Well, before I would just try to serve wherever I could. I didn't have anything specific. I wasn't like doing this or that. And then I came to Anchor, and Franklin is a worship pastor, is my big brother. And I look up to him and I see him up there on stage and stuff. And I'm like, I want to do something that helps the church and like drives everybody to be better overall. And I started off at merch, and I love clothes, I love fashion. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's definitely do that. And I got into that, and then the pandemic hit, we were shut down, we were online, so
no merch?
No merch, couldn't do anything about that. But then we came back, and then I got with Michelle and Tyler, and they were like, oh, we need a stage manager. And I was like, I don't know what that is, honestly, but I'll do it for sure, yeah. And I was like, I just saw it as an opportunity that they needed something, and I was there to fill it. And I was like, I thank God for that opportunity, for allowing me to do that. And now I'm doing the stage manager and running lights most Sundays too. So it's just something that I would have never in a million years thought it was gonna happen. And now I enjoy it every single Sunday.
Well, Franklin and I were talking about it because he said, I've never seen Ariel committed like this. I've never seen it. And what do you think it was that stirred in you that want or that desire to lift up that commitment to serve this year?
Yeah, well, it starts probably with my mom, how she raised me. She's always been that person to just help other people and serve. And that's been my heart since I was little. I just want to be able to serve, and if somebody needs something, I'm there. Like, if I can do it, and even if I don't know how to do it, I'll learn how to do it so I can help that person. And it's just been that in my heart, and God's put that in my heart, and I've been able to
as
do
you were
it.
talking, I thought that's for anybody watching that wants to be maybe committed to serve at Anchor. I thought it all starts with heart.
Yeah.
Like, if you have the heart and the desire, we have the responsibility and the jobs. Like, if you have the heart and the desire,
We will find something for you to
we
do.
will find something for you to do. It just,
sure.
first of all, it takes the heart and desire, because we can teach a role, we can't teach a heart. And so if you have that, you can, and I love that, and you and Carla both have that. I remember there was a couple Sundays when all these people were out sick, and you were doing stage managing and lighting, and in between services, you ran and did the merch table. And then I'm just like, you never complain. You always do it with a great heart and with a smile. And our church is better because of that. And everything you were saying makes me feel like if you have the right heart at our church, then we have all the different roles that you could fit in. I just think about how you talked about, like, where you served or where you jumped in, it all started with the heart. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying, JR.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you called on me. Because, when I came in to serve, there was no live streams. There were like 2 cameras, and we just started recording. And actually, the week before COVID, you were like, okay, we're live streaming right now. I didn't want to tell you this, but we weren't. I was just testing it out. So, yeah, and then, this all happened. We actually had to just jump right into it, live stream. So I had to kind of step up and go, all right, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and just do it.
But I feel like that's for so many people. If you're looking for those areas to jump in and you don't know what does Anchor Church have, if you have the right heart, we have the responsibility. We can teach you a role, we can teach you a skill, but we can't teach you the heart. Yeah. And both you guys have that. Go ahead, JR.
And if if the role you see that needs, if there's a need you see that doesn't exist, talk to somebody.
Yeah.
If we see the same vision as you, and if you see the vision, God sees it, and there will be an opening for that. We can figure that out.
It's right.
That's good.
And I know, Carla, you have that same heart. I mean, you and Ariel, you jumped in and you started serving. But what I've noticed is your lift up this year and your commitment to serve has really kind of trickled into a whole lot of other areas of your life. I mean, you're serving at church, but that serving at church has really caused you to be more committed in sharing your faith. Yeah. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about it while you guys were talking, and I feel like Anchor taught me how to serve others, but that doesn't just happen on Sundays for me. Like, I realize that happens at home with my family, in my job as a sports psychologist. I literally have to lift people up every single day. I am the person that has to motivate others, and the way that I go about it is by just being a follower of Christ, just thinking, okay, what would Jesus do in this situation? And that just comes off with just being selfless and just being the person that puts a smile on everyone's face. And all of that started at Anchor for me. I think Anchor taught me that. And before I joined this church, that only happened on Sundays for me. Like, okay, gotta get up, gotta serve, gotta do this. But then I saw it trickle in, if that's the word.
Yeah.
Okay. Trickle in other areas of my life. I brought my roommate to church, and she accepted Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior. Yeah. I brought my sister to church, and she also raised her hand at the altar call. And
she's serving.
And she's serving with me. Like, we're both driving up from Miami together now. And Saturday she sleeps over. Sundays she comes. If we get home too late, now that class is on Zoom because of COVID, she just will do school in my house, and it all works out.
But what's cool, Carla, is your commitment to serve. It's showing your sister that it's normal to be committed to serve, to the point where she's staying over on a Saturday night, and Sunday, that's just what we do. And think about how that's going to change the generation of her life. It's changing yours, it's changing your family, it's changing her generations to come. And I was thinking about, here you are, sports psychologist, professional baseball team, which I feel like every time we talk, you're psychoanalyzing me. Every time she talks to me, she's probably like, this guy's crazy. Just a little bit. But tell me a little bit about how, like, now that you've been so committed, like, in your faith and committed to serve, and it's made a difference in you, and you're sharing your faith with everybody. You've got some baseball players that, like, come in that need to be almost psychoanalyzed, but instead of psychoanalyzing them, you're sharing the gospel with them.
Yeah. And so I'm just thinking about a situation I had where I had a player who had gone through something really, really tough for his age and for everything he was going through. And I didn't really know if he was a Christian. I really didn't know we don't talk about that much. We just talk about sport, this and that. And he was sharing this with me, and I just felt it in my heart to ask him how his faith is, what his relationship with Christ is. And he told me, I don't really. My family, my mom is very, like, spiritual. She's a Christian, but I've never really paid attention to it. And I was like, I really feel like God is testing you right now, and I feel like you're coming out stronger from this. And this is a really hard situation. I don't know what you're going through because I've never been in that situation, but I know God is using this to bring you closer to Him. And at that moment, he just started crying, and we were in the middle of the baseball field. Like, there was people around. He didn't even care. This 6'2", 200-pound big dude in front of me just bawling, crying, and he's like, like, that's what I feel. Like, he felt it in that moment. I really think that was that switch. And so the fact that I was able to be that person for him, it's just, there's no words to describe that. But.
Well, and I love it all started with your commitment to serve. Like, her lifting up her commitment to serve, it changed you, it changed your sister, it potentially changed a baseball player, it could change his family. All
his
started
teammates.
His teammates
are seeing a difference in him, and so even for me, like, in my coworkers also see a difference in me since I've started serving here. And I think I'm not doing anything different. I just think it's just what's walking in the light of Christ is like. I think it just rubs off on everyone else around you. And it all started with just jumping in at Anchor Church.
I love that.
I do too.
It's so cool, babe.
I do too. And we've talked about lifting up in community and commitment. And another way I think we've seen lift up played out at Anchor Church is through confidence. And I know that sounds a little weird, but when we talk about confidence, I feel like it's that whole thing. You come in as a stranger and you leave like family. When you're around family, you have a lot of confidence. You can be your crazy self and everything. And Mur, I think of you immediately. You have been with us since the very beginning at our from our very first services at DAF.
Which I think we gotta explain what DAF is, because I think people go, DAF, what in the world is DAF? It was just the initials DAF at the first, because I think what is DAF every time we say that.
The initials of the building that we started.
We started at.
Yeah. So, but we saw you come in. We didn't know you, and you came back every week with your little group of friends. They're so sweet. You'd always come up and talk to us after service, and the more we saw you, the more we see you kind of getting plugged in. You're bringing other friends, and you're starting to serve here. You're leading in youth ministries now, and you never miss anything. And I just feel like we've seen you just blossom, and I think it is because you are family and you feel like family. But tell me how that played out as you first got plugged in, and how that confidence just kind of came about.
Honestly, it came from just taking a step in faith and just giving God like my all, like just trusting Him with everything, not just one aspect of my life, but like everything in total. Like, so I feel like God would call me to serve when I first came to Anchor, but I'll always be a little worried, like maybe my friends don't want to do it with me, like, would I always be able to come? But then this year, like, something just sparked. Like, I just started listening to Him and trusting Him, and He told me to go to youth ministry, and honestly, being there has helped me grow as a person, because Pastor Caleb and Pastor Austin, when they're talking to these kids, I feel like they're talking to me at the same time.
They are.
Like, I feel like they're preaching to me at the same time. And I would just trust God, and it gave me like a Godfidence, like a strong confidence, like God has me. Like, whatever I do, whatever situation I'm in, He has me. And that's allowed me to spread that to other people, like people I work with, people I, share a roof with, like everybody that was around me. I would just, not push them, but like just tell them that God has them. So just move in boldness, move in faith, and just trust whatever He has for you. But
I love that. That confidence, truly, when I see you, I think of Jeremiah 17:7. Honestly, blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord,
Yeah.
who has confidence in Him. And
Yeah.
we just have seen that just come out of you in this time that we've gotten to know you. And I just think that is your verse.
Well, I mean, even this year, your confidence of you got baptized this year. You didn't care what anybody else thought. You got baptized.
That's
You're
right.
inviting friends to church all the time. But that confidence, I was telling Teresa, has even poured into your everyday life. Like you're modeling now.
Yeah.
But all these things that I think you're like, you didn't know if you could do or if you should do. It didn't matter what anybody else thought anymore. You were going to own your faith and make it real, and that confidence has been shining through in every area.
And it's just transformed my life, like in whole. Like just trusting God just can move mountains. Like things that you think wouldn't be able to do. Like the opinions of others, none of that just matters anymore. It's just you and God and what He has planned for you.
I love it.
Man.
So if you're watching Chanel, she's doing some modeling right now. And I'm just saying, Larry, I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but Larry is the Anchor Church cheerleader of all cheerleaders.
Absolutely.
Like this is the guy that will talk about Anchor Church with anybody everywhere he goes. Any place he roots us on. I love you for that. Yeah. And I think for
family.
you, it is. You're family,
I
bro. That's why you're at the head of the table. You're the Godfather. You're the Godfather.
I love it.
But I think, Larry, this year you've lifted up. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I've known your son, Mike, for years. We've traveled the world together. I mean, he's such an amazing guy. And I just always us talking about Larry and praying for Larry and want to see change in Larry. And it's incredible now to see the change God has done in you. And I think about you lifting up this year. You've lifted up this year your pursuit of Jesus more than anybody I've seen. I think about your giving, your serving, reading the Bible, your prayer life. You're coming to us every single Sunday. I was reading in Romans this week, and I was like, holy cow, Larry is reading
Romans 8, actually, but that's one of my favorites.
Romans 8. I mean, it's just like, so tell me a little bit about how you lifted up this year, like that pursuit. And at the same time, I'm sure you'll brag about Anchor Church, so you go for it, bro.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. Yes, I was tiptoeing in the water, all through my life, tiptoeing. And my son told me, all of a sudden he told me that there was going to be a new church. He was going to that church. And next thing I know, they're holding meetings in our club room. And
which I didn't think we could. We were having church.
It may not have been legal or not, but anyway, we were holding. He told me, by the way, he says, we're going to have, like 30 people in the club room Sunday. He says, I want you to be there. And I said, I don't know about this. I says, I says, I'll love to go, and I said, I'll help you guys any way you can, but I don't know if I want to drive to Del Rey. That's whenever they were talking about moving to Del Rey for the church. And the more I was in that room, the more I couldn't wait till the next Sunday. And next thing you know, it was like, no, we're not doing enough here. We can do more than this, I sit there with people, like I say, I was tiptoeing in the water all my life, and I sat there and watched young people before we even had a church pulling $5 out of their pocket, pulling $10 out of their pocket, and I said, this is what I want. I want to do this, I want to do my share. And just watching as it grew, I grew, and at the end of last year, 2019, I wanted to recommit, and so I chose to be rebaptized in Anchor Church down at that building that we were just speaking of. And it was the greatest thing I could have ever done. It put responsibility on me. It put confidence in me, as we were just speaking of. The devil kept telling me I wasn't good enough to do that, and once I went and got baptized and started picking that word up and reading that word, and so be it. After the first of the year, COVID came, and I had a lot of time on my hands that I could sit, and I read more of the Bible in 2020 than I probably read in any 5 years of my life. And the more I read, the more I wanted to read. And I said, well, this is not a bad book. This is pretty interesting. This is a good thing. And the more I learned how much God loves us, there is a section in Romans 8 there. There's nothing higher enough or lower enough that can stop His love for us.
Can you believe you're quoting scripture right now, Larry? How cool is that?
And I just grew, and God blessed me, and my life has changed so much for the better. I feel like every one of these people are my family. I've never been into a church that I've walked into like Anchor Church, where I felt loved the minute I walked in and the minute I walked out. And I know it's not the church. I know it's just where God took his hands and put on me and said, listen, I got a different route for you to take here, buddy. And my life has just came together. I'm more at peace. And like her, I give things to God now. I give my finances to him, say, Jesus, you know what I've got. You gave it to me, so you know more about it than I do. You told me where to put it. It's there. So help, you take it and tell me what to do. Yeah. And I've just really been blessed and grown since that rebaptism, and being around people that love you and people that you want to love. And if I see somebody in the church that I think needs something, I want to gather everybody up. Hey, I heard that this one over here needs something. We love them. Let's go take care of them. And it's just been a good ride.
No, you do have. I mean, you do. He has the biggest heart of generosity. I mean, Larry is always saying, "Man, how can I serve that? How can I serve that person? What does the church need?" I mean, he's always asking. And I think about as we're trying to get our own building. I mean, Larry's the first one going, "Come on, we need our own building. What do you need me to do? What do you need me to do?" And I love that you have that passion at heart. But I really feel like you've given yourself to the Lord. You've given your business to the Lord. I mean, you've given your resources to the Lord, and because of that, I think God's blessing you in a way you've never seen it. But I do believe it's because you have pursued Him with everything you have.
I feel the same, and I feel that He has blessed me, and like you say, He's given me to want to see that church. I want to see that building because I think it's a home for our family. And we have a family, and I want to see a home for me. It'd be like your son or your daughter not having a house, renting down the street. You want to see them have their house, I want to see our family have a house.
Yes.
How excited! I love hearing.
Fired up.
He's our biggest cheerleader everywhere we go.
Well, there's another cheerleader around this table too, Shauna. We go in to where you work all the time, and she is like this light that just comes running over to us, seats us, and then brings everyone she knows that she works with over to the table. This is my pastor, and tells them all about it.
She's bringing the chef out. We're getting pictures.
We're taking pictures. It's so fun. But, honestly, 2020 has been a tough year. And, COVID has made things really, really difficult. And I think, Shauna, you have been an example of how you can go through some of the toughest times and have your faith carry you through it. Mm-hmm. We obviously went through COVID. We all are still going through COVID, but you went through a really tough breakup. You lost your job because of COVID. You couldn't go to the police academy. You couldn't, it just feels like there was just one thing. You had to move with no notice and had to move and find another place to live. It's just been such a tumultuous time. And yet, I think your faith has been built every step of the way. So why don't you walk us through that journey of faith through those tough times?
I mean, I've always, been close to God, but I can definitely say that this year I'm the closest I've ever been. It's very easy to say, I trust you, but I'm the person that's like, I trust you, but I'm still going to worry. Yep. I am a professional worrier. If that was a job, I would be the CEO. I went through a really tough breakup. I never thought I'd ever get over it, honestly. For those of you that know, it was rough for me. Very, very rough. And I feel like I was just like, okay, God, you apparently have somebody better, so I'm just going to trust you. And He has healed my heart 1,000,000%. And I don't even want a relationship. The relationship I have with Him is enough. Yeah. And I've just enjoyed just being with myself and spending time with God. That is all I want at this point in my life. And
it's enough.
With losing, absolutely, it's more than enough. I'm blessed to actually say I can have a relationship with God. And the fact that I lost my job, I think a lot of people did during COVID, and it was tough, but I trusted Him. And He got me through it. I did a little bit of Instacarting and made, enough money to keep my head above water. And I was like, as long as I have a roof over my head and I have food on the table and my family's healthy and happy, I don't really have any complaints. And my roommate kind of dropped the bomb on me. Hey, me and my boyfriend are going to get married, so you have to be out in a month and a half. Well, I went through my savings, everything during COVID to pay the bills. So I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go. I have no idea where I'm going to live. Miraculously, God has put me in the most beautiful house I've ever lived in with the best roommate I could ever ask for. And every day I find myself waking up and just saying, thank you. Like, how can I ever repay you for the life you've given me? You know, it's not easy. I would say, if anything, the closer you get to God, the harder your life gets. But it's crazy the fact that when something hard happens now, I laugh because I'm like, you are really worried, devil, because something great is about to happen to me. And life just keeps getting better and better, honestly, and I owe it all to him. I have just learned that I don't even have to think about it. My natural response to things is, whatever, I trust God. It'll happen. You know, he's never let me down. Why would he now?
Yeah. You know, faith is being certain of what you can't see. And I feel like you have been a living testimony to that all throughout this year. You know, you're putting your faith in Christ, and you said Christ is enough, and he is. And you've been able to rest on that, even when the things of, I don't know, it's easy to put our trust in the things of this earth, like your job or your apartment or a relationship. But when those things fell away, you were still able, you had strong footing because you had your faith in the Lord. So I just love your story. I love just watching your story unfold, and that you're just getting stronger and stronger. You're lifted up in faith this year, and probably the toughest year you could have ever had to do that.
Absolutely. I feel like the devil always tries to put fear in us, which also brings me to worship. You know, everybody. I fronted a band my entire 20s, you know, and I played in front of 20,000 people. But when your mom heard me, love her to death. She heard me. And
She came home. She's like, "There's this girl sitting up front with us, and if she's not singing on the worship team, she needs to be."
And the thing that pushed me to sing was actually Teresa, because I was sitting next to you, and tryouts were coming up again, and I always found an excuse not to try out. Like, oh, I have to work. Like, I can't try out. I was scared to death. And my mom was like, what is wrong with you? You've played in front of millions of people. And I'm like, it's different. Like, these are my people, and like, that's God. Like, it's not the same. Like, I have to be amazing. And so I remember having a conversation with you, and you were like, oh yeah, they're having tryouts, and I told Franklin you'd be there. And I'm like, well, I can't back out now. Like, Franklin knows I'm coming. And just getting the email from him in Genesis, they have no idea how they changed my life this year by letting me worship with them, because it has been the greatest experience. I'm getting emotional. It's been the greatest experience of my life, just being able to do what I love and do it for him, because he does so much for me. And it's like, some days I wake up, I'm like, how could I repay you for the life you've given me? Like, I can't. It's just amazing, you know. And I'm sure I speak for everybody here. It's so easy to have faith and be so positive this year when we have such great examples as pastors. This church has changed my life for so the better. Like, I've been to 1 million churches, 1 million, and I'm covered in tattoos, and I was never accepted. You know, I was judged from the second I walked in the door. And I just remember you coming up to me, even at my old church, and you were like, I love your tattoos, they're awesome. And I was like, who is this person? Like, he's amazing. Like, this pastor likes my tattoos. And I really believe this church is going to be a mega church, because you guys are so pure of heart, and you're so wonderful, and you genuinely love everybody, and you're the same people inside church that you are outside of church, and we love you, and we wouldn't be who we are without you guys.
I totally agree with that, and I'll have to say, I always went to church, but that's what I did. I went to church. Now, I want to get there. I want to see everybody. I want to shake everybody. I want to hope we can get back where we can hug everybody. I want to see my pastors.
Instead of doing this.
I want to see my worship group. So I agree with you 100%. It's been the best thing for me that I could have ever gotten involved with. Thank God for Michael and Shaun and Teresa for leading me, you know, to where I was.
Well, I want you guys to know that we are different because of you. Our church is different because of you. I'm so glad, babe, that we were obedient to start the church because I think this would have never happened. And if anybody's watching right now and they're thinking, whatever that is, I want that. Well, 2020 is not over yet. You've got like 4 more days. And so you can lift up, but make 2021, the best year of your life, and I think when I look around the table and everyone we talk to, the reason why all of you were changed is because you took the initiative to be changed. And I think so many people are sitting just wanting God to do something, but they're not taking the initiative to allow God to come in and do the change. Right. And that's where it starts. It's first the surrender for you to say, God, do something incredible. And then you got to take the step to say, now, God, I know you will, so make it happen. And so many people just want an amazing work to happen and they don't want to do anything on their end. But you all took, the confidence, the faith, the community, the pursuit, the commitment to serve, like all of you took the initiative to make something great happen this year as you lifted up in your life. And because you did, God did something miraculous in you. And I just believe it's just the beginning. And so I want to tell you guys that I love you. Look at Larry. He wants to say. I can tell he's saying, "Let's get a building."
I just want to. I did want to say that I am excited about being able to give to the church, and you just don't know how excited I am for this Christmas drop anchor thing. And I want us to do it for Christmas. And God, if we don't get that building, we're going to want to do it every day of the year until
we're going to
next
drop
year.
anchor every
drop
day.
Anchor every Sunday. I am so excited about this that it's just. I know I'm rambling, but I'll tell you.
You go, Larry.
This drop anchor is going to be so good for us, and it's going to be so good for you guys to see that you're doing your job and God's working through you, and what we're going to be able to show you how we appreciate what you guys doing through our givings to the God and to our church.
I'm looking around this table and it didn't occur to me that before Anchor Church existed, we knew Larry secondhand because it was Mike's dad, and we were obviously very close with Mike, but we didn't know anyone else around this table. How cool is that? You guys are all dug in and you are all lifting up, and we wouldn't know you otherwise.
Yeah, we have people they'll say, man, you guys are pretty cool. Like, you guys been in church a little over a year, and you started a church with a bunch of people we're like, no, maybe 6. We didn't know anybody, and it's incredible to build church and to do life with people that you never knew, but God intended you to know. And I just want to tell you guys that we're different because of you.
Yep.
Well, I love you guys, and we love you, and thanks for being a part of this. And I want to encourage our church. If anybody really wants to get plugged in and lift up, this is the time to do it.
Like just do it.
We love
That's
just
right.
do it. Just do it. We love you guys. Well, hey, you guys have a great new year.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're a part of our church.
Yes.
We love you.
Love ya.
Love you guys too.
Love you guys.